At this moment, the number of obese people in the world exceeds the number of people who are starving. Obesity is really a huge problem. It's leading to diseases like diabetes, heart disease, some forms of cancer, depression. And why is there an obesity epidemic? Well, the reasons are simple. Well, we just eat too much, and we exercise too little. Well, simple as that, right? I mean, everybody knows, duh. Well, wrong. There are so many other factors affecting our weight. And today I will discuss these factors with you. And the good news here is there are so many other solutions to have a good weight in addition to healthy diet and exercising. And let me start with telling you the story of John. At least I will call him John. So John was a boy who grew up in the Netherlands. And he was born in a farmer's family, and he seemed to be a normal baby. The only remarkable thing was that he was always crying. He was always hungry, actually. Within 5 minutes after finishing his bottle of milk, he was hungry again. And by the time he was eating solid food, he was eating night and day, and he was craving for food always. And by the time he was 3 years old, he was massively obese. And at that point, his mother put locks on all the kitchen cupboards, but still he was craving, and he was looking in trash cans, and he was looking for eating even frozen food. Well, all these years, his mother sensed there was something wrong with her boy, because her other child was thin. So she went to doctors, and she asked for advice. But she basically told her that she's just feeding her boy too much. And she felt like being blamed for being a bad mother. She got frustrated. And at some point, she got referred to the Erasmus Medical Center in Rotterdam. And she saw there my colleague, Erika van den Akker, who's a pediatrician. And she found that John had a genetic abnormality in his hunger hormone system, the MC4 receptor defect. Well, that basically means that he had never the feeling of satiety. He was never full. So this diagnosis was really important for John and his mother because they really suffered from the stigma because they were accused of having a weak character. And after that, school, social networks, they started to support John and his mother, and actually for a while his weight stabilized. And he's now a young adult, and I see him as a doctor in my outpatient clinic. And he is still struggling with obesity. And currently, medical treatments are under development for patients like John. So I hope to help, being able to help in a medical way in the near future. And you would think, well, this is rare. Well, but that's true. That only 2% of the obese people are carrying a genetic abnormality, the MC4 receptor, like John. But there are other genetic variants making you much more hungry or decrease your metabolism. So if you see someone eating extremely much, maybe we should think twice before judging. So it can be in your genes, and the genes affect your hunger hormones. But did you realize that also crash diets also affect your hunger hormones? Very low-calorie diets can also influence your hunger hormones and increase them. In the short term, crash diets, they work. They reduce your weight. But the problem is that then your hunger hormones will increase. And also your satiety hormones will decrease. Well, satiety hormones are the hormones that make you feel full. We always think it's stretch on the stomach that you feel full, but that's only part of the story, actually. It's your gut giving a signal, a hormonal signal to the brain telling you you're full, and then you stop eating. So when this signal is not adequately being provided to the brain, you automatically eat more. So basically, after a crash diet, you're more hungry. And that's even so in the long term. It has been shown that even a year after a diet, a very low-calorie diet, still the hunger hormones are higher. So what about conscious choice of food or having a weak character? The biology is telling you to eat more. And the worst thing is your basal metabolism is also being decreased by a crash diet. So basically you're more hungry, but you burn not that much calories as you used to do. Well, that's the perfect prescription, of course, to regain your weight. And that's what we call the yo-yo effect. We know how it works now. So basically, crash dieting is another risk factor for obesity. So food can also affect your hunger hormones, but also your thoughts. So let's do a small experiment here. Imagine a box in front of you. And in this box, there are chocolates. They're white chocolates, brown chocolates, they're shiny. And you smell the chocolate right now. And imagine you're taking one. You're taking one of the chocolates right now. And you take a crunchy bite. And now you start feeling, you taste the soft, sweet praline and chocolate in your mouth right now. You are making hunger hormones right at this moment. Unless you just had dinner. But that means when we go out now for food and we see sweet, we are much more likely to choose the chocolate or sweet food rather than a nice green salad, of which you know it's much more healthy to eat. So this choice of food is not that conscious as we think it is. Your biology is driven by your thinking. And the food industry perfectly knows this. They use the advertising and all these visual stimuli stimulate also our hunger hormones, making us eating differently than we maybe think it's good for us. But you can also benefit from it. Actually, it's a solution also for obesity, because we know saying, well, eat less, that's not working. But what is effective is changing your thoughts by cognitive behavioral therapy programs. That's effective. So I told you now about the biology and hunger hormones. But there are other factors in our environment which affect the amount of food we eat. Well, for example, our social cultural background. We know that in some cultures eating and food is hospitality. So imagine that your neighbor has stood in the kitchen for 3 days cooking a delicious meal for you and invite you over. Well, it's socially not really acceptable not to eat a lot then and to just take a tiny bit. So also your cultural background may determine the amount of food you eat. And things have changed in the last decade. In the past decade, we became much more stressed. And if you're stressed, we know your body is producing more stress hormones than usual. In particular, the stress hormone cortisol if you're stressed for a prolonged period of time. And we know if you have extremely high levels of stress hormone, that makes your abdominal fat mass will increase. But it will also increase your appetite, in particular your appetite for calorie-rich food. So that's maybe why we grab a candy bar when we are stressed. And we don't know exactly what's causing what, actually, because these sugar-rich foods seem also to stimulate our stress hormones. So we found, our team and also others found that obese people have higher levels of the stress hormone. So maybe when you're obese, you get in a vicious circle of having elevated stress hormone cortisol, stimulating the calorie-rich food, and that in its turn stimulates again your stress hormones. So psychological stress can stimulate your cortisol, but also specific foods, and in particular also drinks like alcohol. We know alcohol is inducing an increase of your stress hormones, increasing your abdominal fat mass. But there's more which is affecting your stress hormones, and that's sleep. In the past decade, with the increase of obesity, we also reduced the numbers of hours we sleep. And a lack of sleep is also activating our stress system, increasing our cortisol, but also dysregulating other appetite hormones. So the net effect of reduced numbers of hours of sleep is weight gain and leading to obesity. So the solution here for obesity, additional solutions, may be to reduce your stress level and also to improve your sleep hours. And there's more. In this world nowadays, we take a lot of medications. I will tell you the story of Mary. Mary was a 20-year-old young woman who came to my outpatient clinic because she gained weight. And she gained actually a lot of weight. She gained 20 pounds within 10 weeks, and she didn't understand why. And she entered my room, sit down, and she started crying. Because she was eating very healthy, and she was exercising every day. And the reason she was so sad was actually because she was a lifestyle coach herself. So she was actually telling people how to eat healthy and how to exercise well. And now she felt that her clients didn't trust her anymore as being a good lifestyle coach because she was gaining weight herself. And after some testing, I found out that she had received a corticosteroid injection in her knee because she had a knee problem because she was exercising very actively. And we know that corticosteroids are an artificial version of your stress hormones. And remember, your stress hormones increase your abdominal fat and may also increase your appetite. And so she suffered from a really extreme side effect of medication. And actually, this is rare. I mean, I see only a few patients like this a year. But on the other hand, we use a lot of medication with some of the medications have as a side effect also weight gain, maybe in a more subtle way than in this case. But still, in particular, obese people use more medication. So if you're obese and you want to lose weight and you're just about to enter a treatment program for your obesity and you use medication, it may be worthwhile to discuss with your doctor whether that medications indeed are weight gaining and have weight gaining side effects, and then to discuss whether the dose can be reduced or the medication can maybe even stopped to make your treatment much more effective. So, and the last topic in our environment I will discuss is brown fat. Who of you ever heard of brown fat? Please raise your hand. Well, some of you, but most of you not. So, well, actually, brown fat is the good fat. We all know the white fat. That's what's in your hips and your belly, and that's the unhealthy fat, which making you sick. But the good fat literally converts calories into heat. It burns your calories. Well, that's fantastic. Well, that's the holy grail. So we all know these people who can eat a lot and they never gain weight. So they have a good chance of having a lot of brown fat there. And brown fat, in the past, we actually thought only babies had it and we would lose it in adulthood, but it has been discovered a couple of years ago that as adults we also have brown fat. And it's colored brown because there are little energy factories in the cells color the cells brown, and therefore it's called brown fat. And it's located around the neck, around the spine, between the shoulder blades, and around the kidneys. But obese people have less of this brown fat, so they basically cannot burn that much calories as slim people do. But there's good news here, though, because it has been shown that also people with obesity can actually stimulate their brown fat tissue. And you can do it either by exercise, which is hard if you're really massively obese, but you can also do it by cold temperature. So you don't need to worry. You don't have to sit in a freezer for a day. What actually already is enough, it has been shown that if you spend for a couple of weeks, for 6 weeks, for example, 2 hours a day at 17 degrees Celsius, which is 62 degrees Fahrenheit, so just below room temperature, then you already activate your brown fat, and you will lose some kilograms of your white adipose tissue. So you lose of the bad fat. So maybe in the past decades, we spending too much time in the heat, and we have not enough cold exposure. Maybe due to our convenient winter clothing and our well-insulated houses, and we're driving around in well-heated cars. Maybe we should just go out more often and take our coats off and tell our kids to play outside without their jackets. So now looking at all these factors, stress and sleep and medication and thoughts and dieting, crash dieting, I think the problem of obesity and of the obesity epidemic is that we think too simply. The solution here is look at all these factors and change them where possible. It is now time not longer to judge people with obesity, but start to support them. And that's the way we will combat obesity much more effectively. Thank you.